dad's teasing children, dad's teasing children, and which feels to many moms like it often results in the child crying, but it begins to teach the child a whole series of skill sets. What tones of voice are teasing or playfulness?
I wanted them always to stay on the funny side of teasing, because teasing can easily turn into torture. And so they had to learn these extremely fine gradations of humor. And to do that, they had to play on the edge. And the question is, how necessary is it to have the capacity to allow your children to play on the edge? And fathers have that by temperament more than mothers do.
So when something triggers something that is very specific, the child will tend to sort of open up on his or her own terms. And interestingly, I said hangout time was very important for boys. It's the single greatest predictor of psychological security in girls, hangout time with dads. That the dad is more likely to say, well, what did you do that maybe was not so good as a goalie? What do you think you can do that's different with the coach next time?
That's more of a problem-solving approach.
Or a problem.
And you think that's associated with a positive developmental consequence for IQ?
There are so many developmental advantages to a lot of the things that dads do, but I want to really make it clear that dads don't say to moms things like, I'd like to roughhouse with the children because it will increase the children's empathy. I'd like to tease with the children because it will increase their social abilities to play.
Right, God, who could stand to be married to someone who did that?
Yes.
And I wanted the kids to be inoculated against casual insult. You have to take that with a sense of humor, or it just mounts. I've seen people who can't respond to that initial testing because people want to socialize with people who are about as socialized as them. And so what they'll do first is throw out some teasing and see what happens. And if it evokes a playful response, then they know that the person that they're dealing with can be relied on to play and has been reasonably socialized.
The commerce of masculinity is the trading of WIT-covered put-downs. The trading of WIT-covered put-downs is because men learn that if you can't handle criticism, you're not going to be successful.
You're also unpredictable because it means that if something small and upsetting comes along, you're going to get big and upset. It's too dangerous in a crisis.
The feeling is if you can't be teased, you can't be trusted. If you can't be teased, you can't be trusted. It's an invitation to play. It's an invitation to be
if you're skilled at it, right? I mean, a tease can go too far and then it's insulting, but the really good tease is right on the edge. They're sophisticated enough to know when a comment is right on the edge, and they're resilient enough to tolerate it and respond in kind. So it's a compliment of the highest order to push like that.
Now what we've done is institutionalized this teasing as a problem. So the woman goes to HR and says, I was discriminated against what he said to me.
Right, thus failing a test in a more profound way, because one of the things you do when you're in elementary school and junior high school and high school for that matter, and then in the workplace is tease someone and see if they run off to find a figure of authority or whether they can deal with it themselves. Exactly. Because you assume that if they have to run off and find a figure of authority, that they're not mature enough to solve their own problems.
That's exactly right.
They're not mature enough to solve their own problems. They're not mature enough to solve their own problems.